Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the second to the last review of Married at First Sight Houston. This is reunion part 2. So we start off with Michaela and Zach. Zach is the one on stage. Michaela is in the background just chomping at the bit to get back on stage with him. So he denies being intimate with Michaela at their 1 month anniversary. In fact, he goes even further to say that he didn't even kiss her on the 1 month anniversary. I forget the significance of the 1 month anniversary. Like, what does it matter if they were intimate or not? Why he would tell her to lie about it if they were. I have no idea what the big deal is about the 1 month anniversary because I completely forgot, what all went down between them on their 1 month anniversary. So then Michaela comes out and Zach leaves because he's like, if you didn't want me on stage when you were on, I don't want you on stage when I'm on. So he gets up and he leaves. Then Michaela leaves. Then we just hear audio. Evidently, wherever Zach is, Michaela is there because you can hear Zach in the audio saying, just leave me alone or just go away or something to that effect. He wants Michaela away from him. So then it appears, then Zach comes back on stage and he says that Michaela did not move in with her. Then he goes into detail explaining what happened after decision day. They got into some kind of argument. They were in her car. He was driving because she was tipsy. So they get into some kind of argument and Michaela gets so mad that she actually breaks the window to her own car. And then she starts telling him something about that happened at work that got her upset. And he claims that, he didn't want to leave her by herself and he was really concerned about her. We know what that means. So he invites her to go back to his place and she stayed only for 4 days. And of course, he does admit that they weren't intimate at his place. He doesn't believe that Michaela really loves him because I think Kevin asked him, so what about, Michaela thinks that you're just playing with her emotions, you're leading her on. And, and she believes this because there are times when you said that you loved her. She said that she loved you. And Zach says, well, I don't believe Michaela really loves me, which is actually the other way around. I don't think that Zach really loves Michaela. He refuses to sit with Michaela. He's not sure about marriage. And he says that he will always be there. He will always be there for her. If she needs him, he'll be there in a heartbeat to help her out if she ever needed his help. And all I can say to that is, Michaela, if you're ever in a situation where the only person on earth is Zach and he's the only one that can get you out of a bind, don't call him. Please don't call him. The two of them are just so unbelievably toxic. They're not good for each other. They're very bad for each other. They have this whole cycle going on where they yell at each other, they get mad at each other, they argue, they go back and forth, then they have sex, and then it starts all over again. This is a really bad, toxic, unhealthy relationship. This is like the perfect example of what every couple should not be doing in a relationship. So I hope that, Michaela, if your house is on fire and Zach holds all the water in the world, let that house burn down. Don't call him. Don't call him for anything because they're just going to get back in this toxic cycle. Johnny and Bao. So they come out on stage together and, they're very happy about moving on and not being with each other. There's no regrets about the fact that they're no longer married. Bao says that, they were similar in ways that was not complementary. So the things that they had in common were not healthy things that they had in common. They only see each other for show purposes. They're not friends. They're not hanging out. They're not texting each other. So they only run into each other when they have to do, I guess, like promo stuff for the show. Bao says that she never felt protected and was always judged by Johnny. Johnny says that he can never speak his mind. And so Johnny goes into this whole thing which kind of maybe might explain why he was always acting so frustrated on the show. And it just didn't make any sense, like where his frustration was coming from, because there would be these scenes where Johnny is like so emotional and you can tell that something is really bothering him, but it never made any sense to the viewer because we didn't understand. It's like, okay, y'all are having dinner 1 minute and the next minute you're storming out because she happened to say something that you didn't like. And it's like, it didn't match. So he says that him and Bao had an agreement early on that certain things were not going to be discussed on camera at all. And then certain things were going to be discussed on camera only after they talked about it off camera. So Bao kind of had to give her stamp of approval if something could be brought on camera. And so to Johnny, this kind of felt like she was being fake, or she was being fake. That she was so concerned about, according to Johnny, she was so concerned about maintaining a certain image that she wouldn't allow them to talk about certain things on camera because she wanted to present herself as whatever. And of course, with the sex, she absolutely did not want to talk about the sex on camera. Like exactly when they consummated their marriage, she didn't want that brought up on camera. Of course, at some point, we knew that they were sleeping with each other because it was obvious, and they both talked about it on camera. But as far as when they consummated the marriage, she didn't want that on camera. So Johnny was saying that because she has an issue of social anxiety. And so that's why she was like really fearful of what was going to be revealed about her on camera. And so certain things he could only talk about off camera. And Johnny said that people really didn't understand their full story because a lot of it was going on behind the scenes, because I guess Bao never gave her stamp of approval to allow this stuff to happen on camera. And the reason why he even said yes on decision day was because he wanted to know her away from the cameras. He wanted to see how she was when she wasn't, put on the spot with all the cameras and the producers or whatever else. So he was interested in getting to know the real Bao because he felt like he really didn't have a chance to know the real Bao. And he did say that their whole love story was never really captured because so much stuff was hidden per Bao. So my question is, if Bao was so self-conscious about revealing certain aspects of her life, girlfriend, why are you on a reality TV show, especially on a show that is so intimate and so personal, where it's about two people getting married and trying to live out this marriage? Why are you on a reality TV show? It didn't make any sense. And so Baos defense was, it wasn't that I was being fake or that I was trying to portray something that I'm not. It's just that, what did she say? Her excuse was, she said that it was just her trying to, she just wasn't comfortable discussing certain things, and she had to think about her family. And I wrote it down here of what her excuse was. But she said that, no, it wasn't me being fake. It was just that, I don't know what she said. Whatever she said, I lean more towards believing Johnny, that she was concerned about her image, that she was concerned about what, people thought of her, that she was concerned about what her family would say. I think that leans more to the truth. I can definitely see Bao as being the kind of person who probably didn't want to share some things about her life, that she wanted to keep some things away from the cameras. I totally believe that. So I kind of believe Johnny, because it makes sense why it would appear Johnny was overreacting to something, because he was just reacting to something that happened between them that was never filmed, that was never captured on film. So I have to say, and I can't believe that I'm saying this because I've been Team Bao since day one. I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but I'm kind of like more willing to believe Johnny over Bao. And I think that Bao did do a disservice to her marriage by being so controlling on what was revealed about her marriage. And I think that's really sad. But they're not together anymore. They claim that they're both happy, not being with each other. And Johnny is supposedly dating someone, and we'll get to that later. And Bao says that she's also seeing someone, but she didn't want to talk too much about that. Like I said in my previous video, there's these rumors on the internet about Bao and Zach possibly dating, but she said she didn't want to talk about it, so who knows. Then they bring all the girls out. So all the girls are together, and they're all talking. This was like a throwaway little scene. It was really nothing much was revealed. Michaela did admit that she didn't like Ryan, because she said that Ryan was more invested in her relationship with Zach than he was in his own relationship, and he would have been a lot better off being more concerned about Brett. I think that she doesn't like Ryan simply because he was on Zach's side most of the time. Rachel announces to the girls that her and Jose are officially together and that they're working towards making their marriage work. And then they talked about, Marla being Marla with her, bougie self. Then the experts come out and they talk about, what surprised them during the season. They all talked about how they were surprised that Johnny and Bao didn't make it. They talk about how Zach and Michaela could have worked, but I don't see how, but they claim that Zach and Michaela could have worked. But the problem, they said, was that Michaela needed support, and Zach just didn't know how to give her that support. He was just too horrified with her behavior to really try to figure out how to really help her. So that's why they believe that they didn't work. Then they talked to Rachel and Jose, and they all believed that Jose needed some type of anger management, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I think Jose does have a temper. I think that he does need professional help to help him with his temper, and this will work between Rachel and Jose possibly, and I say possibly, is this will only work if Jose acknowledges that he does have a temper problem, that he does have an anger problem, and he is willing to work on it. If he doesn't even acknowledge that he has a problem, if he's not even serious in acknowledging, yes, I have a problem, my anger gets the best of me, then this is not going to work, and Rachel needs to go about her business. But I don't really have a lot of faith in Rachel and Jose. For some reason, when I was watching the reunion, they didn't seem that happy. And I understand that they're going through problems, but they're saying that they're working it out. So I don't understand why they both looked kind of a little bit blue or a little bit sad, especially Jose. I saw absolutely no happiness in his eyes. So anyways, when they were talking to the experts, they talked about how Rachel was done and she had left. She took off. She left the home because he got mad at her about whatever. And his tone, his anger, his temper, I guess, drove her out. So she left. But then they're working on their marriage. And so the experts asked them, what made you want to work on the marriage again? And she said that it was Jose said that he was willing to put in the work. And Rachel, I guess, had seen that he was willing to put in the work. I think that he guilted her into coming back, or he guilted her into wanting to make the marriage work again. That's what I think. I think he guilted her into it. I think he begged her. He pleaded. He probably said, well, some of this is your fault too. You can't put all the blame on me. And I think he guilted her into wanting to reconcile and coming back. Because I don't think that Jose really realizes what his issues are. For someone to lock their wife out of their home and then just go to sleep like nothing happened, he has a lot of issues. He has a lot of problems. He has a lot of problems. And I don't think he quite realizes exactly what his issues are. So then we go into Marla and Gil. So the experts talk to them. Now this was really interesting, and it was also extremely sad. So, Dr. Pepper brought up how, Marla, I've talked to you several times, and several times you mentioned just how happy you were with Gil, how happy you were with Gil, how he was just, you were so over the moon about him. And then they show clips, when she met with Dr. Pepper and she was crying and, talking about how Gil was just above and beyond anything that she could ever had expected. And she talked about when they showed the clip, this is when she was drunk, she was meeting with Dr. Pepper and she was, drunk out of her mind. And, she said that it was the small things that really mattered to her, how he buys her flowers, how he opens the door for her. I think she said he buys her flowers weekly. She said that he proved to be very consistent with his love, showing his love very, very consistently. So while they were showing the clip, Gil starts crying, because it's he sees well, you realize what a great person I was, what a great guy I was, what a great husband I was. You saw it, you realized it, you acknowledged it. So I guess in his mind, the wheels are turning, so why aren't we together? And Gil, he started crying, and he said that he was completely blindsided. It would have been one thing if he knew from the beginning that there were issues, that she wasn't feeling the same, that, she wasn't happy. But it seemed like from the beginning, she appeared to be really happy with him. So he says he didn't appreciate how he was so blindsided by the whole situation. And it was really unfair for him because it never really gave him a chance to try to work on anything or to try to change anything. It was one day she woke up and she was like, hey, I don't feel the same for you. I don't love you. I'm not attracted to you, and I'm out. And he never had the chance to try to fix anything. So Gil was saying, I don't want to be with anyone who doesn't want to be with me. He felt misled by her. And the whole time that he's crying, this man is so brokenhearted. Marla is just sitting next to him, just so emotionless. She's not reaching out to him. She's not trying to comfort him in any way. She's just looking at him. And do you understand? You broke this man's heart. You ruined his life. And she's just sitting there like it's absolutely nothing. And she doesn't try to pat him on the hand or give him a hug or say, like, I'm really sorry that this didn't work out between us. She's just like cool, calm, and collectedly just sitting there looking at him talk. And so Dr. Purple was like, we need to get to the specifics. You're giving us these really generalized answers about, oh, I just didn't feel the same, or the feeling was gone. We need to know the specifics of exactly when it was over for you. And she said that it was more than just the finances. She says, the finances, we could work on the finances. My issue wasn't really the finances. She said that it was... they had different financial drives. Okay, that kind of concerned her. And she said that it was the attraction, the chemistry, and that they had different values together. And I'm thinking, when she said values, I'm thinking like, it was somehow tied into the money, tied into the financial, as far as her like feeling like there's nothing wrong with wanting the nicer things in life, and him thinking, hey, if I'm in a cardboard box, as long as I'm in a cardboard box with you, I'm happy. And with her, something like that, someone with that type of mentality, it just wasn't acceptable to her. And she also talked about how I wasn't happy. I just wasn't happy. And then Pastor Cal came in and said, you know what? Marriage is not about happiness. Happiness is a byproduct when two people come together and they work towards a common goal, to create this life together. Then you are happy. But happiness is not the goal of a successful marriage. And then Dr. Viviana said that, maybe marriage is not just for you. Maybe marriage is not for you, Marla. So Marla actually kind of thinks about it. And I kind of agree with that, not everybody's meant to be married. Marriage is not for everybody. So maybe Marla is just one of those people where it's just not for her. It's just, she's not someone who, when you think about marriage can mean different things to different people. But when you think about like the core definition of marriage and the core values of marriage, one of the main things is you have to be willing to compromise and you have to be selfless. And I don't think that Marla is any of that. I think it's all about Marla. It's the Marla show, 24 hours a day. And she is not going to give up on anything that she believes is important to her. She will not change. So that's that. And then her body language also was very distant. She wasn't leaning into him or sitting close to him. She was kind of like a little bit away from him. It was very, very distant. Then they bring everybody out. Kevin asks Zach, well, how does it feel to be on stage with Michaela? Zach said, I feel indifferent. And then the same question was asked of Michaela. And she goes, I'm fine. But we knew she wasn't. So they talk about social media and how have they handled, getting all of this social media attention. And Ryan said that, when people mess with him on social media, he messes with them back. He's one of those people, you know what I mean? Like, he takes the time to, whatever. So then Johnny made a joke, and I forgot what he said, but he made some kind of a joke. And then Marla, this is the first time that I got any indication of the whole Johnny and Marla situation. This really came out of left field for me. Like I said, I don't get into the blogs, the vlogs. I don't do the Twitter stuff as far as like, okay, what are they doing now? What's going on with these people now? I don't do none of that stuff. I have no idea what's going on. So when they talked about Marla and Johnny, let's start from there. So Johnny made some type of a joke, and then like Marla actually like leaned into him and she like touched his arm. And and I was just like, okay, this is strange. Now, Marla was not sitting next to Gil. There was somebody in between Marla and Gil, but she was sitting next to Johnny, and Johnny was sitting next to Bao. So she was very touchy-feely with Johnny. And it's like everything he said, she laughed. And social media thought that Jose was gay. I didn't get that. Wait, did I get that impression of Jose? That he might have been gay? I think I might have in the very beginning, but then I quickly dismissed it. And Michaela piped in and said that her gaydar didn't go off at all with Johnny. She didn't get the sense that he was gay. But then I thought to myself, but Michaela, if you did get that sense, would you have vocalized that? Would you have said it? So then Marlo and Johnny talk about how they had coincidentally bumped into each other in Cancun. One of them was there for a wedding, a friend's wedding. Another one was there for business, and they bumped into each other or whatever. They met there coincidentally, which I'm kind of doubting that now. I kind of think I think they planned to meet in Cancun. And they spent time together in Cancun. They spent time together in Chicago with Jose and Rachel. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? What's happening? what is happening between Marla and Johnny? And every time that Marla and, the subject goes to Marla and Johnny, or if one of them is talking, the camera pans to Gil. And this poor man is just sitting there with his head in his hand, looking down, literally tears in his eyes. And Marla and Johnny have absolutely no regard to Gil whatsoever. Zero regards to him. As if he's not even there. And I'm like, can y'all be a little bit more respectful? This man is still trying to heal from his marriage ending, not just from a breakup of a girlfriend or whatever. His marriage, whatever he had planned, he had plans with this woman for his future. He saw Marla in his future. He had plans for her for his future. And y'all are just up there cackling and hee-heeing and haw-hawing and, being all touchy-feely with each other, talking about your trip to Cancun. And this man is absolutely crushed. I thought it was so disrespectful for them to be acting like that. So, when he was sitting up there with Bao, when it was just him and Bao, he had mentioned that he had moved on and he had a girlfriend. He was seeing someone. Obviously, he didn't mention who it was. But now I'm beginning to wonder, is it Marla? Because if you have a girlfriend, Johnny, and you're spending, because they both said that they spend a lot of time together. Johnny admitted, me and Marla, we spend a lot of time together. If y'all are spending this much time together, how are you spending time with your girlfriend? How do you have time for your girlfriend? So then the question was asked if Marla and Johnny were just friends. And Marla didn't answer right away, because you would have thought she would have said, oh my God, yeah, we're just friends immediately. But she didn't answer right away. She actually turned to Johnny and looked at him. And then she kind of nodded her head like, yeah, we're just friends. But then Johnny was like, well, he didn't give a straight answer. Like, he purposely gave a very evasive answer to make people think that maybe they're more than dating. And I think that if they are dating, I think Johnny's at that point where he's like, he wants to announce it to the world. He's like, yeah, I got Marla. Marla's mine. He wants to announce it. He doesn't want to hide it. And I think Marla's probably the one that kind of wants to keep things under wraps. I don't know. I have not seen the Where Are They Now episode, so I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. But that was strange. Gil looked absolutely miserable. I felt so bad for Gil. My heart went out to him. And then Kevin asked Gil, well, what do you think about their friendship? And Gil said, I don't think anything of it. No comment. Then they brought up the question of, okay, so then that's all he said. He said no comment. So then they talk about the couples retreat. They show that the segment where, Hurricane Michaela came through and was turning over stuff and knocking stuff down. And Michaela looked at that and she was like, you know what? I admit I was wrong. Yes, I admit that I was wrong. I should not have acted like that. Now, her justification for acting like that was that when Zach wanted to leave in the middle of the night, when he was done with everything and he wanted to leave, she said that triggered memories of her father and her father being killed by a drunk driver, because her father was upset, got in his car, was driving it at night in the dark, and he got hit by a drunk driver and was killed. So this triggered that. This was like a big trigger for her when Zach was trying to leave in the middle of the night. So then I kind of felt like, okay, whenever she's like in a really, really bad light, Michaela brings up her father. Like, she wants people to feel sorry for her. So she starts bringing up her father. Well, I did this because of my father, thinking of my father, being without my father dying. And I'm like, okay, you're kind of disrespecting the memory of your father when you're using him to kind of justify your bad behavior. Because she didn't say that, in that episode of the couples retreat. When Zach said that he wanted to leave, she didn't say, Zach, my dad died because he was driving at night in the dark and he was, emotionally charged, and you're emotionally charged and it's dark outside and I don't want you to go out. She didn't say that. So how is he supposed to acknowledge that her reaction came from her dad's death? He didn't know that, but she was upset that he didn't acknowledge, like, how did that make you feel that, you did this, you took off and what I went through with my dad? He didn't know that because, that's not what you communicated to him. So Zach actually was trying to apologize because she kept on saying, oh, Zach doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about me. So he wanted to apologize for, okay, Michaela, I'm really sorry. But as soon as he started talking, she cut him off and she goes, you're lying. You're lying. That's not true. You're lying. So then he was like, okay, fine, whatever. So he didn't say anything. So then Kevin was like, Michaela, he's trying to apologize. And no, he's not. He's lying. So Kevin tried to give the floor back to Zach and said, Zach, go ahead and continue with what you were saying. He was like, you know what? No comment. He was done. It was a very intense scene, very, very intense. So then for whatever reason, I guess because he had to, Kevin asked the couples, well, if we were gonna couple swap, who would you hook up with who? Who would you put with who? And I was like, oh my God, that's not really the appropriate time to ask this, but whatever. So when he asked that, Gil couldn't take it anymore and he left. He took off. He said he wasn't feeling well. So he leaves the stage. He goes to the back. Michaela follows him. And then Gil starts off by telling Michaela, you know what? Look, I always try to be the positive one. I always try to bring, joy and happiness to everybody. And I just can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And he goes, I hate the fact that people treat this so flippantly. It's like, well, to him, this was serious. His feelings were involved. He loved this woman. It was a real marriage to him. And everyone else kind of minimizes the whole experience. They're like, hey, if you don't like it, get a divorce. Who cares? And to him, it wasn't about that. He wanted to make this work with Marla. So he's going on and on about that. And Michaela's crying, I guess, because she's also thinking about, her own situation with Zach. And then they both decide to leave and they're out of there. So then when we go back on stage, they go through the whole, they finish off the reunion with, never before seen, whatever, who cares? So yeah, that's the end of that. But my heart goes out to Gil. Even though his DMs are full and there's like a plethora of women who would want to scoop him up and be with him, he is not over Marla. He wanted Marla. He doesn't want no one else. He wants Marla. And so I feel so bad for him. I really hope that he does find closure. And I don't know what's up with Marla. And then she wants to flirt with or be jokey with someone who is like the complete polar opposite of Gil as far as like looks and personality. It's just, I don't know if she's doing this on purpose. Like she wants to hurt him on purpose. I don't understand what's going on with Marla. I understand. And Johnny too. I'm kind of like, how can you take trips with someone who was married to your castmate, who was married to someone who you considered your friend? Like, what are these people doing? What's happening here? I don't understand. I don't get it. But anyways, that is my review of Married at First Sight Reunion Part 2. Thank you so much for joining me, for taking the time to listen to me go on and on and on, being all over the place. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I did. Spent time with my family, had delicious food, and I hope it was the same for everybody else. And please join me on my next review, and I will definitely talk to y'all later. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.